2-2 to the leadoff man.
What happened to Paul Skenes? Just 1 year ago, he looked destined to become baseball's next legendary ace. After winning the Cy Young Award in only his second season, many believed another Cy Young in 2026 was almost inevitable, placing him alongside names like Clayton Kershaw, Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, and Zach Greinke. But that hasn't happened. Instead, Skenes has put together a surprisingly inconsistent season. Through 22 starts, he's 9-9 with a 3.65 ERA. While those numbers would be excellent for most pitchers, they're far below the standard fans have come to expect from him. Several outings have been particularly rough, including 5 earned runs against the Cubs and an 8-run disaster against the Phillies. More concerning, he's struggled to pitch deep into games, something that was rarely an issue before. So, has Paul Skenes actually gotten worse? The answer is, not exactly. When you look beneath the surface, his strikeout rate remains elite and is actually slightly better than last season. His walk rate has increased only a little and is still among the best in baseball. Advanced metrics tell an even more interesting story. His expected ERA sits well below his actual ERA, suggesting that he's been far less fortunate than the numbers indicate. In previous seasons, luck often worked in his favor. This year, it has swung the other way. Then there's the biggest talking point, his velocity. His four-seam fastball is roughly 2 miles per hour slower than it was a year ago. Naturally, many assumed that was the reason for his decline. But the data says otherwise. Despite the drop in velocity, opponents are still hitting very poorly against his fastball, and hitters are missing it more often than ever. Skenes himself has said he isn't worried about the lost velocity, explaining that he still feels healthy and believes velocity alone doesn't define a great pitcher. So if the fastball isn't the problem, what is? The biggest issue appears to be his secondary pitches. His sinker, splitter, and changeup all show slightly less movement than they did last season. These changes are small, but at the major league level, even tiny differences can completely change an at-bat. His changeup has generated fewer whiffs while allowing much harder contact. His sinker has also become more hittable, leading to more hard-hit balls than we've ever seen from him. It's not a complete collapse. It's a series of small declines that have added up over the course of the season. But there's another factor that deserves attention. The Pittsburgh Pirates defense has done Skenes very few favors. Pitches that once produced swings and misses are now finding barrels. According to defensive metrics, he has received some of the worst defensive support of any starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. Routine double plays have turned into extra base runners, catchable balls have become hits, and defensive mistakes have directly contributed to several of his worst outings. Take away some of those costly defensive plays, and his ERA would likely be much closer to the mid-2.00 range. Still, that doesn't tell the whole story. The reduced velocity may not have hurt his fastball, but it likely makes hitters more comfortable at the plate. Combined with slightly less movement on his off-speed pitches, hitters are simply making better contact than they did a year ago. That's the difference. Paul Skenes hasn't suddenly become an average pitcher. He's still one of the best starters in baseball. But when your standard is greatness, even small changes become impossible to ignore. The question now is whether he can make the necessary adjustments before the season ends. Because if Paul Skenes rediscovers the dominant version of himself, the Pirates' playoff hopes suddenly become very real. And if he does, this strange season may simply become another chapter in the story of a future baseball legend.